think I was a second behind, and we got a little snippet of our faces while we watched the countdown.
Well, good morning, guys. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. We're going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin this morning. Pretty simple stuff. A lot of the same stuff we've been talking about. We are going to cover, though, some trade opportunities that occurred yesterday based on the levels that you guys were given. I am just putting this in the Discord and on my Twitter real quick here. I know I do that every time as we're going live, not before. That is an error that I'll try to not make in the future. But that said, pretty simple stuff on price. This will be a short and quick one, guys. I know we didn't do an alt stream last night, so maybe we'll take a look at some alts while we're talking price here. But you had a really simple area of support, and I posted it on my Twitter. But it's because I wanted to clip yesterday's video and go over how well it did play out. So played out extremely well. We came down to where the 22,407 level, just beneath it, and you have the previous week low. So this little area of support right here, okay, mapped out. And why do we have this mapped out? Well, this has been our range. If you were just to box this off, as we've been saying, while there are broader targets in each direction, you have a nice range here to trade, right? So something like this would probably be fitting, like so. That would be how I'd be looking at this price action. So the September high at 22,810 and 22,407, those were the levels given, and they have played out just very nice. As you can see, you've came up, back tested into support, reclaim, and then this reclaim just gets a lot of chop around it. However, you get several tests right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 back tests. So very clean. Now the only thing I would be keeping an eye on is that we know that the weekly pivots and the not previous week high, but the previous week high at this point, not to overdo the verbiage there. And these weekly pivots come in here, and I would just be monitoring that move into that area, because you've got these local highs that you could pretty much, say all of these highs right here. You run the risk of a swing fail into this resistance after coming into this area. So, bear that in mind. That is a possibility. And if you were to zoom out just a little bit and we'll go over to this chart because I've already got it up. We'll go down to the 1 hour. This is that high we were just speaking about right here. Okay. What you would notice is high to low. This is your gold pocket, right? So that is always something to be aware of. Where is my local golden pocket? And you can see that's coming in really nicely here at the 23,402 level, which is the level that we've said if we want to try to re-challenge not just the weekly open, but make a new high into this 24K zone, this is going to be the level you have to be living above. It certainly has been up until this point, and I don't think that's really changed for us from a structural standpoint. So you still have a range here. It is still very tradable. You are approaching resistance. Max is going to go over a single print that is above us as well. But, this would be the area that I would be most interested in seeing the reaction from if I was looking for a short. And again, just as a reminder, that is also going to be those weekly pivots coming in right here as well. So you've got a fair amount of resistance, at least on paper, for this area. However, if you clear that gold pocket, I do favor a move back into like this region right here, something like this up near the top of yesterday's close in that weekly open. You may even challenge as high as something like this right here. I would just box this little area off and say, if we clear 23,402, next stop for me is 23,745.50 to 23,847.50, a little $102 box here. And you can just extend that over, and that would be the next resistance. Maybe you swing fail the high again. We don't really know what'll happen. It just depends. But certainly, this is just doing exactly kind of what we've talked about in terms of a range. And a range is a range till it's not. We still are looking at this area with interest. However, there were 2 boxes on the chart. You go out to like the 1 hour here. You've got 2 boxes here. The first one came in where it was at the September or the 6 and 1 in the previous week low, which we did leave the previous week low, which was a low. We said if these lows are starting to be taken, right, you start losing these lows right here, you're probably in for a fast move down. What did you do? You left the low. In true Bitcoin fashion, you got extremely close and then left the low, and support is support until it's not. Can this come back down and lose this area? Yes. However, until that happens, you know, we have to trade this level to level. So these are the two boxes you should have been trading. You know, if you're in the group, you had the boxes. I think I don't know if we gave this one at the in the live as far as the box goes, but we did give 22,407. So good enough. And, you know, that's what we have here. So still remaining kind of optimistic in terms of price. Could there certainly be a decent sized pullback? Yes. But on the record for the last few weeks saying that I'm expecting upside doesn't mean continuous upside all at once, but I am expecting this move to not be finished yet. I am still looking towards, I think the first date is February 14th for the SPX Fibonacci time. However, I would be leaning in this case closer to the 19th to 27th for Bitcoin. That is the time frame I'm looking for, some kind of a local peak, and it may just go through that. We don't know. It may not go up till then. Who knows? Like we don't have a crystal ball, but if we were looking at how things have played out in the past on prior rises, that is how it certainly has. So still looking for upside for a few more weeks overall, and that is including if there's a pullback. And again, we're not worried about pullbacks unless we start breaking down below this level on a closure, right? So this is your last range right here. It's also comprised of some very nice high time frame technical levels. These are all just really large time frame averages of price. So quarterly, yearly, and then a 60-day from last year. So two very relevant ones in the Q4 of 2022, and then the a 60-day average from the end of 2022 as well. And then this is from all of 2021's price action. So, 2021's price action. So big box to lose. And if you look left, we'll do this real quick before we go. I turn it over to Max. You know, you look left, this box has been absolutely key. You can see that right here. You can see that right here. You give up this area or you claim this area again right here, here. This is going to be that key to the city, so to speak, where it's like if you lose this box, you've got problems. So you want to see price continuing to hold the September high. You can honestly on the daily, it's very, very clean. I always say zoom out, right? And if you zoom out, what do you notice? You finally claimed 22,810 and you have not closed the daily candle beneath it. So we still don't have that change of behavior. You've certainly come back to support and given a second opportunity for at least an intraday trade. You know, if you were trading this just based on a range, like you were like, I'm completely undecided on what I think is going to happen, which is never a bad mindset. You would just be trading the range, and this is the local range you could be trading just based on looking at the structure. And you can see you've run all the way back to the value area high. So in terms of trading, you would be trading this from the deviation of the range low in terms of value area low to the point of control just above the September high up to the value area high right here. And you would be locking in profits. And I think that's a really safe and good way to be looking at things. And then just remember that if we do start breaking back above, you know, this 23,402 level right here, this local high, that did not pan out. There we go. Right here, that we'd be above the range value area high, and we'd be looking for that push to potentially make a new high, right? Very, very simple. Until then, trade the range for what it is. This was support again. However, if it comes back down to it, I'm sure it'll bounce a little bit again, but I wouldn't be as excited to see us coming back to this so quickly. So that to me would look like, you know, then it's just kind of rolling over, so to speak. So you're going to want to see this, in my opinion, probably get some follow through in the near future. If it doesn't, then we'll see what the FOMC brings us tomorrow, but it could lead to that move down into support like we've all been talking about. So, but that isn't a death sentence to the move. Again, I'm still expecting this move to last through the end of February almost. There's even potential for middle of March, but I think end of February is a pretty conservative time frame for when we would expect this to actually be forming a true local top. As we just don't have any evidence that it is just yet. That doesn't mean it can't come down fast, because it did go up fast though. So, you know, bear that in mind. Let's see if there are any questions in the chat. I don't have both chats up, so I am going to go ahead and refresh.
They're in the restream. If you check in there, it covers both.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sean Burmax, good morning. Yeah, perfect. I got nothing else to add. If you want to take over, Max, feel free.
Let's do it. So I'm going to go over the low. And, after the opinion that I gave on yesterday's low, I'm going to show you a good low or a good, high or low, what it should look like. Let's zoom into this one. Huge washout of positions, negative 22 million open interest, very large volume spike, very negative delta with a huge trade count. It's massive. Considering what you've got around you, 3K is huge for amount of trades conducted in one candle, especially on the 5-minute time frame. That is a good low on pretty much any standard that you can look at. You've got the finished auction with the zero there, obviously being on the buyer's side this time. You've got the TPO, huge selling tail, very big wick that it generated for us. And you've got the move away, huge wick. That's what you want to see when you see a significant high or low. Granted, this one isn't in the area where we can really think it's huge and we can really care about it that much, whereas the other one was, and it was pitiful. So, but this is a very good low, and some of the members in the group, they said it before I even woke up, that like, this is a great low, and fair play. It really was. The move up today's been very slow trading. It's not really offered us any really good setups. I've only taken one trade myself, and it was the long from here. It just looks so good on one of the templates that we use in the group. But unfortunately, it just didn't go anywhere. It was like a $50, $60 move. It was really nothing. So, was a pain in the arse because, kind of missed out of this, but is what it is. The level that I'm really looking for now, one thing to note is we do have the previous day point of control coming up. So that could offer us some resistance in the immediate, but I like how Magic is pretty much breezing over it and looking towards that golden pocket somewhat with the single prints that we've got there. Now that could be the area of resistance. Again, I feel like it's been the saying for the past week and a half now. If we get above this region, which is the previous week high, I believe, probably going to look and test the high again, which is a weaker high from a footprint standpoint. Granted, not a TPO one, but from a footprint standpoint, it is. So, I am expecting that to get taken. But yeah, there's not really been too much to say. We have got, I think, another single print today. Yeah, we've got a miniature single print today. It's not huge. It's only, I think if you go to the 50 ticket, it won't even count. But you have got something in this region. So you can expect, if we were to fade a bit of this move that we've got, because if you look at the price and zoom into where we are, so the single print goes to this region here. If you look at this, we're getting a lot of buy here, and similar to the move up that we had the other day, we've not really taken many lows, not significantly anyway. If you look at the move up, there's going to be liquidity here. There's going to be liquidity here. Granted, it was somewhat tapped here twice. You went over it by a few dollars, I think. But really, there's just going to be a lot of liquidity in these regions. So, Delta's going up with the trend, good. Open interest is going up with the trend, good. Volume is increasing with the trend, which kind of happens as you go into the New York session. So, to be expected. But it's when you start to then retrace and start to lose them lows, you're going to get a similar situation. Granted, probably not as big as what occurred over here, but you're going to get a similar situation where when you start to trigger these lows, like if you see here, as soon as we broke below that over here, granted we wicked below it, then came back up, but as soon as you really lost it, went really into the liquidity at that region, you do get these fast moves down. I'm not saying it's going to be that big. I'm just saying it has the potential to. I would like higher prices with the current, view that we've got on the price with the open interest, the delta. I would, it looks good until it doesn't. It's what, it's the phrase that I can really use. It looks good while everything is moving up with price until we start to lose some of these regions. So then you're putting some traders underwater. As soon as that occurs, then it's panic mode for those traders. And then we can act on it and take a short if there's one available. But yeah, move up's been okay. Today's been a rather slow day, so really not got too much to go over. But possible retest of 23K is on the cards, and it'd be a market structure long to then hopefully take you to the golden pocket. But you really have to see. There's not really been too much for me to go over today, so I think it's gonna be a quick stream, Magic. not got anything else. 35 people
Well,
in here.
I know. Might as well talk about some altcoins, right, guys? So be fairly quick with it. You know, the charts are what they are. We'll take a look at Polkadot. We'll walk through this chart. So we were looking for Polkadot to re-challenge this high potentially if we got back above this local high here, if you recall. And it did so. I mean, it came back up to the value area high. This is just your developing range for the year, developing range for the quarter, January. They're all the same at this point. So this little blue average here is your monthly VWAP. It will also double as your quarterly VWAP and your yearly VWAP. So it wouldn't surprise me to find our way back into this region. And I was really kind of hoping that this would be the area that I got to play. And we'll talk about this area in a second. But if you go from overall low to high, right, you've broken out of your, your developing regression, which does end today, so this was the area of interest. It's the value area low. There is a major pivot here at the 6M1, which has always been they've been very lush, for lack of a better term, in terms of trading. You can see that you claimed it here, held it as support, and then off you go. So it would offer up a potential for a bounce. A lot of confluence there. However, it opted for the range point of control, which we all know is the first target anytime you find a rejection at the top of the range. Where are we looking to? Range point of control. And then you can see that this local low right here provided you with the gold pocket from that last move up, okay, from this low to this high. That's all you're doing, pulling that local gold pocket. And you could have made the argument for a trade here. And one way you could have found that entry is if you're not on the low time frames. We're on the 4 hour here. You can very, very easily look left and you can start saying, okay, do I have anything that could provide an SFP? You certainly do. You've been holding this level on the 4 hour for quite some time. Is this? Yeah, it's not extended. So if we zoom in just a little bit, and I'm going to move this guy down so we can actually see what we're looking at. And you can see all the respect to the line, and you can see where you closed at now. You can see you closed right here. So this is more so, you get used to finding these things as you chart more. Matt has gotten very good at it as well. A couple of the other guys as well. So just locally, this is a support area that once you've wicked into, this is actually giving you invalidation, meaning you've got a decent low. Bitcoin is bouncing as well. I'm getting a spam call here, which is not a shocker. Yeah, I mean, you could easily take an intraday position based on this because you have a stop loss now. Now, does that mean just because these things occurred that you were going to be correct on the position? No. I mean, you could definitely lose that trade still, but that's part of trading. You're going to lose positions. So for this one now, you'd be looking back up. And I think that, a key area is going to be, 638. It's going to back test this channel as well. Obviously, we're going to do the same boring thing that we always do. We're going to pull that local gold pocket, see where it comes in at. And it's coming in just above. And we just highlighted, this used to be a box on the chart, if you guys recall, was this right here. Ah, man, I hate when I do that.
I've just looked at the Polkadot on Bybit on the order flow. There's a lot of shorts underwater as long as you don't lose 6.25.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a few shorts under there, underwater right now.
Well, if I could get this stuff, there we go. Move over, and then you can start seeing how this is coming back into this kind of like pseudo resistance zone. And this is just based on a 2021 low, and then the last week's high basically on the move up. So, which technically isn't the previous week high anymore, but it was last week, and it did serve very, very well in getting things for this move, right? Very good support and resistance inside of this region. So if you re-enter this box, I'd be looking for this gold pocket. I would be looking to potentially come into that area. And I think if I recall, you have a weekly pivot in this general region. You certainly do. So again, high to low, guys. Where's our weekly pivot? Where's our gold pocket? Where's our resistance that we just mapped out just from basic horizontals? It's all right here, meaning that I'd be looking for 644 up to this, is that 648 level? And I think that would be a good place to be looking at. You could box this off now if you wanted to, and you could just say, I'm really interested in price right here and gauging the reaction, because I think that if this move is going to have any further continuation to the upside, this is going to be the inflection point that it has to get back in. It also puts you back inside your regression and near the range high again, right? And so what do we like to see? We like to see price going from the range high to the point of control. If it comes back to the range high, we then get to play the game of, if this box gets turned into support, like I'm going to get rid of all these lines on the chart here. If this little box here gets turned into support, can good things happen? Yes. I mean, anytime you're above this box, which is resistance, break above, where do you go? Value area high, try to hold the box. You flip this into support, you'll be putting pressure onto that value area high. So then, it becomes a question of higher lows and trend. And am I consolidating underneath resistance, or am I consolidating at a high, making a high? Those are two very different things, and sometimes context matters. And so mapping off a key zone to be regarding as support while you're putting pressure on a resistance, just like a key support that's putting pressure on support, is going to help you make those decisions a little bit better. And even if it doesn't make you, or help you make better decisions, like in the sense that you don't win more trades, you'll at least have a place to put a stop loss, so that when you do lose your trades, you're not losing your ass, right? Like that's actually a really big part of it. So that's all I've got on DOT. If let's say Bitcoin is running the gambit here and it makes a leg up to like 24/7 or something, I would be looking for this local high just to get taken above 678 at, if it got really out of hand, 732, but I'm not really looking for a move of that caliber right now. I would trade this locally before anything if I were a trader on DOT, but yeah, that's it for DOT. I've not looked at Solana in a minute, which Solana is one we covered, and I'm going to recover it because it's still popular. Still a lot of people requesting it here and there. If you recall, these are quarterly lows. That's all we did, is we just identified where's the nearest high time frame structure for this asset. And we get rid of the VWAP. And the weekly pivots just are not necessary for this any way, shape, or form. And you can see that the last place you found support is right here, right? So very, very simple outlook, how we're charting this, not doing anything special here. We're just saying, man, if we get back into this region, this was support for several months, nearly 4 or 5 of them probably, since these are 3-month candles. And it would be expected to be resistance. So now when you start zooming out and you start looking at where your next level is going to be at, you can see it's in this box. This is resistance. So if you start losing 2211, I do think that's not a cause for concern, but I think that is where you can start saying, I'm going to target these lows. So I think we've already mapped them off, but more than likely, once this level's reached, I can't imagine we don't come down back to like this $18 level and start back testing some of this prior breakout. Because again, just like Bitcoin, what goes up fast comes down fast, guys. And this one went up very fast. It actually kind of led the way. Of all things that led the way on the rally, it was Solana. Matic, really trying to break my heart a little bit here. Matic has now swung fail its high. We're looking for about $1.22. This is prior resistance. It's a pretty big resistance level, if you guys recall. But one thing to note on this whole structure here from the breakdown point, right? That's where I'm pulling this from. Your quarter-one low, which is your key low right here. I have to turn the magnet back on there. That is a key low there outside of this SFP that you had locally, right? So you had this guy as well. You can see that is actually your local high. So, I mean, you could have very easily found the local high through fibs, which is kind of what this box represents, but also through just basic, horizontals. So you had a really, really obvious range, again, based on quarterly and monthly levels here between $1, $5. And then you had support down here at the Q4 low and the, what is that, a 2023 open. And then there's just, I think like a weekly or a monthly SFP here. So again, we're using basic horizontals to find what we're looking for. But, the point I want to make on this one is note the shape of this. So as this asset has been trending up, we've been talking about when is Matic going to pull back, which I would constitute $1.30 all the way back down to 75 cents is a pretty good size pullback. It's not quite 50%, but it's a good chunk of change. But look at the structure here. So now when we're like actually looking at this from a volume standpoint, we're not looking at order flow or anything just yet, in the sense that, this is telling us a P shape, right? So this signifies continuation, meaning that we're spending a fair amount of time here building up volume, and you're holding new support above the range low. Okay, so this is what you want to see inside of a strong trend. So it really kind of further validates the levels to the downside that we had mapped out, and we've mapped them out on previous streams, right? So these levels are mapped out really, really nicely. And if we extend this box over now into the volume profile, you can see what happens if you start giving up this high volume cluster here, or node, however you want to refer to it, accumulation zone. Yeah, you're probably looking all the way back down to the quarter two open, probably down below this low here at like 52 cents. You know, you could even map this low off, and you know, we're not striving for perfection. We're just trying to, you know, say these are the lows I'd be most interested in straight away, and I would just box it off and say this is probably going to be a decent area to have mapped off if I was looking for a landing zone for this asset, right? So that is how I would do it, simply put. And you could extend this over to, I guess, technically like right here, and this would be the area of interest. And that's kind of also, if you take a look, your highest volume node right here at 52 cents, right below the range. So that's kind of the play on that one. So you are seeing the idea that this is trying to put in an accumulated structure here beneath resistance to make a move through it. And if price begins to impulse through this area, I think you just have to be aware that you can certainly swing fail this, because there is quite a bit of resistance up here. And when does it really matter? Like, in the sense that when has the trend actually changed? For me, I'm looking at this as a giant weekly channel technically still. And I should probably get rid of some of these boxes before I turn this thing up on high def here. As you can see, it is trying to make a 1-to-1 as well. I will highlight that before I do this, get rid of it. So you can see this is a 1-to-1. I pulled the 886 on the 1. And so all we were looking at, and we did this the other day, was just a high, low, or low, high, low, excuse me. And you get your 1-to-1 at the yearly pivot. So breaking through this region and being above that prior year average is actually a pretty big deal. Also puts you back above where that quarterly low we just talked about from Q1 when Bitcoin rallied from 32 to 47K. That's when that took place. And if you got to the weekly now, you can take a look at this and you can say, okay, from a structure standpoint, I've got a high, I've got a low, I've got a higher high. I've now officially made a lower low right here. What kind of, you know, interaction am I getting here? Can I make this push above the 50% line of this channel and get into the upper half and start, you know, targeting some of these highs around, oh man, like $1.69, you know, up in this region. I don't think you're getting past this high specifically at $2, obviously, but like, I think at that point you're still kind of living inside of this region of the chart, you know, and we can map off all the things we want, but this is all going to be pretty good size resistance. So I'm not really looking to accumulate Matic here still. I'm still looking to see what kind of a structure it's going to put in long term, in the sense that we've made a high, right? A higher high. And now we are, where's my poly line at? I know I have it on the tools. There we go. You've got this low, you've got a high, you've now got a lower low. Are we going to put in a lower high? This technically is not a confirmed high yet. We've talked about this. Once you give up this zone of support right here, which is also like the 382, you're looking down to see if it's going to find support for a higher low, or is it going to make a new lower low, right? So I'm interested to see what Matic does. Get through this region. Obviously, we still are, you know, not making a confirmed high here. So this can push. It's just got a lot of resistance to get through. So I'm not really, I know a lot of people are really big on the Matic chart. This is one that I'm just not sold on making a higher high or doing anything too significant. And when I say significant, I'm talking like coming up to $2, you know. So if I miss out on the remainder of this move, I didn't sell all my Matic by any means, but I did take a good chunk of it up in this region on the first test. So this to me looks like a secondary test of resistance. I would still like to accumulate down underneath this region down here still. So that's how I'm viewing Matic. And I know that's kind of a really broad overview, but like day trading wise, outside of a short right now, there's really not too many options. And based on the way the volume profile looks, I would be cautious doing that, because that volume profile does kind of indicate that it wants to try to maybe continue this high up. And even if it does, it doesn't actually constitute a, you know, a new high. It could very well still put in a lower high, just a little bit higher than it is now. So, you know, Matic is performing well compared to others, I guess. A couple questions. Greetings from Poland. What is up, Poland? Yeah, I've got targets on Algorand, so I managed to nail the low on Algorand like damn near a year in advance, which was good. This was my buy zone for Algorand. Accumulated a little bit up here, you know, for this bounce territory, but primarily was waiting for this box. We did get it. And in terms of Algorand, man, the first area that I'm really interested in is this local top right here. This is the area on the chart right here. So somewhere around like 30 cents, give or take a few pennies. But that is the region I'm most interested in for Algorand for right now. And that is just an old range point of control and the overall point of control if you were to pull like a global pull, right? So you can see that this is the point of control for all price action. And I think that's very, very valid to do because I know Algorand gets a lot of love from communities out there, but like, I mean, absolutely rugged, huge base, pretty good run up, coming back to that base. And, you know, I said this back in, oh man, like the very beginning of 2022, maybe late 2021, that Algorand was probably heading back for this box. And, you know, this is just an old accumulation zone for the price, right? One would expect to spend some time down here. So I think that, you know, there's a decent chance Algorand bounces around in this region for a while like it did here, because this is a good chunk of change. This is from August of 2019 all the way to the breakout here in January of 2021. So you've got to think that's a full year and like 5 months, give or take 17, 18 months. A fair amount of time accumulating. So I think that if you're going to see Algorand make a move like this or higher, probably going to have to see some accumulation. I don't think it's just coming out of this box and doing anything crazy. You know, one thing to note is that even with just this right here, which I don't think is a good way to measure it, but it helps. You can see how fat the volume is down here, comparatively speaking. So this is the place where people are doing most of their transactions. And even if it gets out of this range, you know, this was a zone that we had marked off because it was such a key area of support. And one thing I want to highlight again is, I say this often, but just because something was not support on the way down does not mean it won't be resistance on the way back up. And that's 100% what happened here. We were looking for about 88 cents. I believe this was a trend-based, I want to say either gold pocket or one-to-one. I don't remember which one it was, but there was fibs here. Yeah, it was. It was right in this region. Were we in log for this? No, we weren't. So this was your trend-based gold pocket. And then you came down to, again, we talk about how we used the 886 in Confluence with the one-to-one extension. Kind of front ran it a little bit, but we had a major level at 88 cents we were watching, and we kind of boxed off right here. Came back up. Again, just because it was not support on the way down, serves as perfect resistance. Then you get this kind of like failure to hold support, and you move down into broader targets. So it could rally all the way back up here, man. Like it really could. Like it would be something similar to like this right here. Like it came all the way out, came up to like 70 cents. Very easily see something like that where you take these local highs or something and it comes off the lows. You can get rallies like that for sure. It's just I wouldn't be too excited about them, because what happens on these rallies, they come right back to earth. I do think you're going to have to see accumulation on this asset for a while. I think you're going to have time to accumulate this one. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just I would be patient unless you're trading it, in which case, you know, take your profits and play the game again when you get the opportunity. We are looking at Algo. Sorry, I'm keeping up in the chats here. Did I paste that or did you paste that? Who pasted that?
I pasted that.
You're putting the pasties on me. Good stuff. I don't think there's any other ones I want to talk about really. We'll talk about AAVEX. We've covered AAVEX recently. We'll cover this thing. AAVEX. Yeah, you've come right into the Q4 pivot. And we outlined support last time we were here. We put one line on the chart, and there you go. Look at that. You do have the point of control beneath you at the 6M1, very important level. I imagine there's a gold pocket here as well. at some point. What did we do with this? Oh, yeah. This was an old quarterly range. Now I remember. I'm trying to keep up here. So there we go. We're looking at this in terms of an overall range, like so. And we have determined that we're back inside of this quarterly range because we looked at the quarterly candle and we said this is the most important high we could be looking at, right? So we'll go ahead and revisit that for anyone that missed that little lesson or just needs a refresh. We were looking at local highs and no real clear highs and lows available in terms of lows for support because this one just came straight down. But you do have this right here. You have this local high at $30.89, a fair shake away. So this is the region we're most interested in. We're interested in Q3 from 2022. That price action seems to be very relevant. A lot happened in this candle, obviously. So when you go back to like something like the daily, let's see, how did we get that level? Oh yeah, we just targeted our last like monthly candles here. So that's where this line comes from. This is just your last monthly consolidation before they'll move down. So you'd want to see this being held as support this time around, because what happens when you give this area of the chart back up? Well, you move down through it, right? So we want to see this acting as support. And at a minimum, you could box it off like I know some people are into order blocks. It's not necessarily something I'm into, but 1721, you could just say this whole area should be looked at as must hold support, in the sense that if this region of the chart is lost, there's really nothing beneath you in the low of the range again, right? So that's how you want to kind of view that price action. Doesn't mean you can't trade it, obviously, because when you go down to the daily now and we look at the top of that little, market structure, I guess, you can see you're getting quite a bit of respect here. And then if we go back to Q3, like we were just talking about, we know what quarter we're most interested in. You can see that you're entering into that Q3 range, and we've talked about this, that we want to see the overall gold pocket here potentially at the value area high. So we're looking for a full range rotation of a historical range in this instance. Normally I would say don't do this. This is pretty relevant though, because the gold pocket is there. And it would be a move up above this quarterly pivot, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to continue up just because you claimed an old pivot, right? So, but the Q4 pivot was naked. It was not a monthly pivot, I think is what I said last time, but it is a quarterly pivot. So it was pretty key. And yeah, you've come up, you've struck it, you've filled in that inefficiency. So those are still living up to their statisticals, where they're getting hit very regularly and coming back to them and being respected. So you've taken this high. If you can claim the Q4 pivot, I think it's a very quick move into like $23. I think that's the next big resistance zone. And then short of that, I mean, you're just targeting the high here at that point, if you get above that. But for right now, AAVEX holding support looks good. Anything under $17.44, I think we mapped it off here. Yeah, 1678 to 1744. I would be, a little more cautious if you start losing this like $17 region. But for now, again, finding support locally, much like Polkadot, much like these other coins. If you do that, good things can happen and the rally can continue, because you're just continuing the trend, right? High, low, high, technically a higher low all the way down to 17. You lose this region of the chart, you can see that then you're challenging your structural and trend lows, which is not something you want to see, because again, fast move up, you lose this area of the chart, fast move down, right? So it's all you're doing, very basic stuff to get the general idea, because that's what you need to have just to be able to trade in general, in my opinion. If you're swing traders, because I think a lot of you are less day traders in these streams, because day trading is probably one of the harder things you can do, and there's just less people that find success over time. So, all right, I don't think I have anything else to add. Let me see. XRP Hitman wants XRP TA. We'll look at XRP just to look at it real quick here. I don't think much has changed for me on XRP. The broad view on this one is pretty much the same. And if we're expecting the market to move up, I don't see why XRP won't with it, regardless of any news you're getting out of the court case. I think you were better off in this instance trading TA alone for this one. So again, major support here. This is going to be the 29.35 cents was the larger, broader target for me for a long time. There's also a yearly pivot down here. It's not just a quarterly. There is a yearly I'm almost positive there's a yearly. And if I'm wrong on this, I'm going to be big mad. Just kidding. Yeah, there it is. 36.9 cents. Yep. There you go. This is your 2020 pivot. So nailed it. You're looking for the quarter one low, much like Matic. If you get above the quarter one low, we were just talking about that. That is resistance. It will serve as resistance. And if it's reclaimed, good things can happen. And personally, the larger target on this one for me, and I am swing trading this one. I do trade this asset. I know that Max loves it because he's a huge XRP fan. He requests it constantly when I'm live on other people's channels. You're still looking for this B leg retest here between like 80 cents, 88 cents, all the way up to like $1.03-4 which has been historically a very big level of inflection for this asset. Because you can see that right here, support. Now it's flipped to resistance. What happens when it gets flipped to resistance? You sell off to the bottom of the range. You are looking at this in a similar fashion. So to me, I think that assuming you're still hanging on to, and I'm gonna get rid of this quarterly. It's just not necessary. Let's see, high time frames here. We can go the monthly or quarterly here. So as long as XRP is trading on a high time frame closing basis, right? So I'm gonna get rid of this box for just a second as well. You can see 29 cents. Obviously, if you want to be extra conservative and say, until we close below that, I'm remaining bullish, but you could get a very quick wick into this low, like 17-cent region. But this is the most important area on the chart for right now. I don't know why I used a box for this. I would say right here at 33.14 cents if you're on Bybit and you're trading the USD pair, which I do. So this to me is absolutely must hold support. You could also just map out your monthly open because it's close enough. You could just say, okay, the yearly open, I guess in this instance, which is right here. All right, we'll just map it off the 2023 open. Those are generally fairly important on most charts anyway. At 33.93 cents, so we're just splitting hairs over a couple, fragments of cent. If you're trading above this level and living above it on a decent time frame, like weekly and above, this looks to me like an overall range right here. Okay, so this is your range, and this is a good size range. And so this is what I've been doing is I've been trading from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. It's an 80% range. You don't have to catch all of the move to find success and make money. You can definitely find success in the middle though. We've tapped the low of the range. We've gotten a good reaction. Bitcoin's looking fine for now. And as long as, the trend is intact for, assets to continue up here, which we have no reason to think that they won't unless the Fed comes out tomorrow and is like, not only are we not pivoting, we're going to raise 100 basis points because I can't stand the markets going up. Like that's not going to happen. But, you guys get my point. This is probably going to come back up to 47.99 cents over time. And if you reclaim 54.61 cents, as I've said, that is going to look rather good. And you can see straight away that this was a really obvious, descending triangle. So when people say things like manipulation or whatever, it's just like, dude, you were trading blind because you just wanted to ignore that this was a giant descending triangle. So what happens though if we break back outside of the quarter one low, which is where this resistance is that we've been talking about? We are back in the pattern, right? What do we expect to happen when we break back into things? Well, we expect to go to the point of control, which is all the way up here like $1.10, which is actually a global point of control. So a fairly good move can happen. And if you've been accumulating in this region, that's a 300% gain, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking 300%. Now, one thing that does pain me, and this is where we'll start to differ, is unlike most of the XRP community, I'm not a believer in the token in terms of like some of these really high, like ridiculous evaluations. And I will consider them that because they're just so insanely high when the token's trading for like 30, 40 cents. That said, that doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means I'm going to continue to pay myself the way I have been and taking those profits and then compounding them later on other opportunities. It's very simple. I'm not looking to, take every small move to the upside or every move to the upside for, new all-time highs. And one thing I'll leave you with though, and that's not to muddy the water here on that opinion, is XRP is doing something really similar to Bitcoin. And we've covered this multiple times in the past. Whoever asked for this, I think it was XRP Hitman. This has been covered quite a bit, and I think it's got some validity to it for sure. And let's go to log in the weekly time frame, and we'll get rid of this. So this is your overall global range that I've been watching on XRP since like 2020 to 2021, right after this low was made. So this is your global range support, right? You can see that. And let's get rid of this. So you can now see the lows of the range, right? So you've got a very clear support, very clear resistance. And what you're trying to do now is put in what's called a partial decline inside of a range, or a higher low, which is a really fancy way of saying it, of course, because we're all about terms here. And again, 54 cents, that quarter one low. Look at the EQ of this. So this is your Q1 low right here. And I'll turn it to white like it normally would be, and we'll mark it. Q1 low. Get back above this. What are you also doing? You're getting back above the EQ of this overall range, which has been very well respected. Anytime you're above this blue box, or the quarter one low in this case, what happens? You go to the top of the range, or at least make an attempt to. So again, you get back above 54 cents, and we now have a very large, mature structure. Could it continue ranging like this? I mean, sure, anything could do that. I think that's less likely, though. I think that at that time, if you start holding like $1 or $1.30, you're going to put some pressure on this. And am I saying it's going to go to like crazy evaluations? No, but I mean, it definitely will make an attempt at making a new high, which would make most XRP holders, I hope, very, very happy and a lot of money. I just know that a lot of them have said they're never selling, which I think is absolutely ludicrous. So, that's my take on it, though, but it is what it is. I tend to come from a little bit more of a conservative background in terms of investments, I guess, especially in crypto land. Like, I've been around for a few cycles. What goes up comes down super hard. But XRP, a lot of potential on the chart. As long as you're holding on to this like 33-cent region, give or take, everything is fine. You're just ranging between support and resistance. And if you can break back above 54 cents convincingly, there's a good chance of like 100% increase in price back to like $1. I wouldn't overlook the yearly open. It's like 80 to like 90-cent region, but you get the point. There's a very good chance of a 60 to 100% increase in price, and it doesn't have to stop there. It just, that would be the conservative target of it. So hopefully that makes sense. And, that's just kind of a logical breakdown of XRP, because I think people should get the bland, boring, vanilla TA on XRP more. It's not as exciting or sexy. Trust me, it's not. But it's honestly been the best way to go about this asset for a long time. That might change in the future. It might not. We don't know. But I'm going to cut it off there because we have been going for quite a while. Yeah, no problem, Hitman. It's one of those things. XRP doesn't get under my... Oh, it gets underneath Max's skin. XRP didn't move much. Yeah, I mean, a lot of alts, here's the thing with XRP. This is the last thing I'll leave you on. So a lot of alts move fairly quickly. Like Polkadot moved great. Atom, Cosmos was another great one that we traded. Algorand's not really moving that great, but I expect Algorand to put in a pretty big range at the lows. Obviously, I kind of alluded to that. Note that when XRP does make moves like this, rarely is it something where it's this impulsive, right? And you get that big move up. This right here would be more indicative of what I would expect. So this is a really big low right here that was put in. This took from, again, middle of July, back when Bitcoin hit 14K in July of 2019. The break of this did not occur until November of 2020, meaning, again, 17 months of sideways, right? And even if this came all the way down to here, I don't think that's a death sentence to XRP's chart. I think that as long as you're holding on to this range low, it's just another opportunity, much like it was right here, and much like this little consolidation is here. The moment you close weekly candles below 14 to 17 cents, though, and I say weekly because we got to start zooming into the high time frames at that point, that's when there's a real big problem on this chart on a macro level. But you can put in a really big structure here, just like right here, it put in a really big structure from April of 2021 all the way to May of 2022. So 13 months. Am I saying this is going to go sideways for 13 months? Not necessarily, but you've been going sideways from May until January. So it's been 7 months. So if it goes sideways for a few more months, potentially, I mean, don't be surprised, right? Like, it's very, very much so inside of the MO of this coin and how it accumulates. It's a pretty high volume coin in the terms of how it trades as well. So it trades really well on the day trading side of things, but order flow is pretty clean on it. You could easily trade XRP like you trade Ethereum or Bitcoin. It's got decent respect to the TA, things like that. But if you put in a larger range here, don't be shocked, right? Don't be surprised. And especially if it does something like this, you know, I mean, I hate fractals, but we're going to do it just because we can. You know, I think that's the way you do it. Yeah, you do the bars pattern. Like if you were to fractal this thing up and really kind of go nuts with it, you'd be looking at something like this, right? You'd say that this is the shoulders or whatever, head and like an inverse head and shoulders, and that puts you where? Something like this. It does put you back at resistance, puts you back at the lows of the range, which is really nice how it lines up, back at resistance, and then up it goes, right? So am I saying that's what's going to happen? No, I'm not saying that at all. Don't take that as trading advice. It's just, I'm just illustrating a point that this asset does tend to accumulate for long periods of time. And you do have a very obvious double bottom here, right? Off of a macro harmonic on the bullish bat, which we showed right here, right? So I would just be patient. This is an area to be accumulating as long as these lows are holding. If these lows don't hold, you have to understand that you have to either be ready to cut that position, because I do think you're going to see close to a 50% haircut, or if you're a long-term holder, which I know many people are, you've got to be prepared to average back in, right, at lower prices. So it means don't shoot all your wad right here just because things look good now, because they can not look great later. But until XRP does something to break down or break my conviction that this is support, I'm looking for this area of the chart yet again, starting at about 47.99 cents, as I mentioned, is the first area that I would like to see tapped. And then after that, we can move on to 54, etc. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Sorry you got here late, Mario. Good to see you, though. Thank you. And I don't have anything else. I don't see any other questions on my side. Or do I think H-bar is going to come back to 3.5 cents? H-bar, I will cover that one, because that one actually, so several coins front ran me, and that one kind of got me by like the smallest of margins, right? So H-bar and ADA front ran me by a lot. My ADA chart did not pan out, but that's okay. Not everything's going to pan out, guys. We're not going to be perfect all the time. That's not how things work. No, you know what? This was the accumulation zone. This was like I think I've mentioned on Sin City is looking for something like this. Basically, this is the area on the chart you want to be accumulating. I just didn't buy here. Not something I picked up because I was picking up other alts. I just don't think it's a bad place. And can it come back to this region? Yeah. I think that you'll put in a bit of a low here, although just don't FOMO in if this bounce starts hitting like 9 cents, which is, 33% or 50% away, I guess, from where we are now. But you've got some resistance up here on like the weekly and monthly chart, if I recall. Yeah, you do. So yeah, you're definitely at resistance. I would be looking for this one to potentially come back into the lower half of this. I would just mark off this December high and low. And if I was really interested in this asset, which you might be, I would just say if price, am I doing this right? If price gets back in this region, what in the world did we just do? Come on now. Don't do this to me. Oh, there's no, we'll fix that. I don't like that one as much. There we go. If price comes back to here, go down to the daily. I'm interested in accumulating a position here, knowing that can it go lower? Yes, but this is still a good area of support. And I should take context into things as well, though, meaning that if the broader markets look like shit and we're nuking, let's say the SPX rolls over and it looks like 2008 all over again, I'm probably not buying as much in this region. I'm probably being a little more cautious. I'm probably going to look for those lower prices again, but certainly it has been lower. And I do think that this one, like other ones, has made a really nice move up. And I don't think that they won't do something like this and come back and retest some support. Does it mean it's going to turn into the same outcome where it makes lower highs and rolls over? No. But certainly could be looking for that. You could be extra aggressive if you wanted to, and you could say, I'm interested in this region of the chart. Like there's many ways to trade this one without getting too technical. Like we're not pulling up volume. We're not looking at pivots, anything like that. We're not, you could say this is going to be support, right? This is initial support. We might not see the December range again. So maybe I'm interested in coming down here at like 5 cents, 5.5 cents. and then, you know, DCAing into this position if things look good. You have to use your best judgment, whatever your trigger is. I don't give investment advice, but just trying to show you that outline the areas on the chart that are support, set your alerts, take advantage of the positions if you think it's a good idea, and then, you know, write it down and journal it. Okay, I took this position because I found this support. I didn't have an entry trigger. I hope you do, but a lot of times people don't. And it panned out like so. These were things that I would change. These are things that I wouldn't change. This is what I did right, what I did wrong. And then over time, what you'll do is you'll isolate habits that are not making you money, and you'll isolate habits that are making your money. And you can try to continue the ones that are, obviously, and make those good habits. And the ones that have been poor performing habits, you can kind of say, okay, these are things I know not to do. I won't be doing these anymore. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that I don't, because I'm going to hold myself accountable. And that's really the only way. But if you are looking at this as a DCA position, you probably don't care as much about that. I still think it's healthy to do that, but you know, that's on you at that time. Of course, I am actually going to hop off this time, guys. For real, this is for real, no cap on God. We are going to go ahead and end the stream because it's been going a while. Harmony 1 has been requested a few times. I don't have a chart on it. Otherwise, I would just roll through it. But we've been live an hour. We've been saying we want to keep these fairly short. So apologies in advance there. But thank you guys for attending. I'll work up Harmony 1. If you come back tomorrow morning, DCF, I will, or if you follow me on Twitter, Magic Internet M1, I'll post a chart on there and I'll put it in tomorrow's video to make a point that we should look at Harmony 1. And I'll do like a full rundown of it, but probably not going to do that today on stream just because it's going to take like 10 to 15 minutes for me just to put that chart together since I don't have one. Max, anything to add before we go?
I'm just so glad that you've just said that at the end. For real. Oh God.
You like that?
I'm going to clip it.
That could be the opener. For real, on God. Guys, welcome to Leading Crypto. My name's Magic. Yeah, no. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I like that we're getting more people involved, seeing it in the group as well. People are posting charts, going through the educational material, it seems like, more frequently, which makes me super happy because, believe it or not, it does take Max and I a fair amount of time to put that type of stuff together for you to make sure it's useful. And we're working on some things right now with ranges for you guys. So I'm looking to get that released hopefully this month. And leadingcrypto.io is in the,
Don't release the secrets. We've not done it yet.
Well, it's not we haven't released anything about it. We just told them teasers. But guys, there's a link in the description down below. We have decided just to continue doing half off the first month with the code BTC22. It should be down there as well. So anyone that wants to come in and roll through the academy, get access to all the books that we also recommend because those are downloadable. So you can just have them for life. You're getting a pretty good deal there. So hopefully we'll see you in there and we'll catch you guys in the next stream.